Athletes out there, welcome to the Parenting Athletic Kids podcast. Paul Weidner and myself have been doing these podcasts for quite a while and sharing podcasts with your parents. We wanted to hit you athletes with this one today. Paul Weidner, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Athletes, I'm excited to talk to you. This is what it's all about anyways, is you and your experience and to the benefit of you. So let's talk directly at you. I can't wait.
Yeah, let's get this going. So athletes, today we're going to talk about overcoming adversity. And this is something that each and every one of you has had to do or will have to do at some point. And I want to make the point right up front. This is a separator. So how well, how fast, how immediately you can overcome a mistake, overcome adversity will separate you from the rest of the athletes out there. So if it's in the first inning, many athletes strike out and the rest of the game is shot. You miss that early free throw, the rest of the game is shot. You have a tough game and now it trickles into your next practice and next game. So this is a huge deal, and we're going to try to help you discover ways. And let me say this up front too. This is a skill you can develop. I don't care where you're at right now with this. You can get better at this and become elite at this if you work on these concepts that we're going to give you today. Practice these concepts, take them to the games, and again, understand this can separate you from a lot of other athletes that aren't doing any of these things. So Paul, I'm gonna let you jump into it. Where do we start with this? How do we help the athletes overcome adversity?
Yeah. So let's talk about just action items right off the bat. So like something bad happens to you. What do we do? How do we understand where to go from here? First thing, you have to be able to recognize what's happening internally to you. So your brain, your emotions, your state of mind, where is it at? Because in order to know what tools you're going to implement or where to go from here, you got to know where you are. So self-awareness and being able to recognize the state of mind that you're in is a big deal. Certainly encourage you to evaluate that stuff after the game as well, because you should evaluate that and try to think about what you can do about it. But the real goal that we're after is to try to recognize it in the moment, because then you can work on trying to fix it when you need it most. So self-awareness, recognize what's happening to you when adversity strikes. That's the first thing.
And I think a great way to do that, athletes, is understand when you're feeling good. So recognize, we talk about in athletes, this term, being in the zone or being in flow. When everything's feeling good, I want you to really hone in on that. Like, this was a great game today. I felt really good throughout the game. That is the goal. Like, being in the zone throughout a game, throughout a week, whatever it might be. And then it's easier to recognize when you get knocked out of that, when you know what it feels like when you're there. So start taking some time when you go to practices, when you play in a game. How did I feel? Like, what was I just playing for fun and with passion, and was everything feeling great? Once you understand that, then you'll be able to see, well, that umpire made that tough call on me. That took me out of this zone that I was in. Or I had a ball go through my legs at shortstop and boom, I got knocked out, missed a free throw, whatever it might be within your sport. So first and foremost, understand when you're feeling really good, and then start to recognize when you get knocked out of these situations. And to Paul mentioned this quickly, after games, just take a few minutes and maybe write down, this knocked me out of the zone. So now I have awareness going into the next game. Okay, if this happens again, I'm not going to allow that to happen. Or if it does happen and I get knocked out, which will happen, how do I recover? How do I get back as fast as possible? That is the separator. Everybody gets knocked out of the zone. But how fast can you get back into the zone is the key. So that's what we're going to go into next. So where do you go with the next? So number one, this is 3 R's, athletes. You should write this down. R number one, recognize when I'm knocked out of the zone. Okay. And where do we go next, Paul?
Well, you need to have the ability to release that type of emotion to help you get back. So recognizing where you're at is one thing, but then what are we going to do about it? And you have some great examples of some different releases that you can have. I want you to dive into those. But that's the next thing, because recognizing where you're at is great. But if you're not trying to take steps forward to get yourself back to the right state of mind, then what's the point, right? So how do you release that to get back to the right state of mind? Go ahead and tackle that one.
Right. So athletes in different sports, it'll look different. But in baseball, I get a tough strike called on me 6 inches outside. I'm starting to get knocked out of the zone. I'm starting to have negative thoughts. I'm going to bend over. I'm going to grab some dirt, and I'm going to throw the dirt down, and I'm done with that negative thought. Okay. I might take my helmet off, let the steam out. I'm done with that negative thought. Undo, redo batting gloves. Basketball players might slap their hands together, some type of physical action, and I like it with some type of thought. I'm done with that. I'm releasing this negative thought. That thing is over. I got to move on. So we talk a lot about being in the present moment, and that's what this is to do. When we have negative thoughts, when we get knocked out of the zone, we're knocked out of the present moment. We're thinking about something that just happened, or we're thinking about now I'm in a tough situation. Now it's going to be harder for me to get a hit. We're thinking about the future. So present moment, that's where we want you to be. Not in the past, not in the future. And you know that if you're in the zone, if you're feeling great about things, you're in the present moment. So think about how you might release. You're playing shortstop, ball goes through your legs. You're going to grab some dirt. You're going to take your glove off, put your glove back on, and next play, next pitch, whatever it might be. So spend a little time, think about what that would look like. When you do get knocked out of the zone, what action can you take to get yourself back into the zone? Okay. So any thoughts to add to that, Paul?
Just like any skill, because these are all skills, they do need to be practiced. And if the first time you try to rely on it is in a game when something bad happens, either way, the first time you try to do it in a game, it's probably going to feel a little bit funky, but you'll improve on it and get better. But practice it too. When you have something bad happen in practice, even when the stakes aren't quite as high, work on your releases and try to get better at that. Because just like any other skill, you don't want the first time that you try to do it, try to use it, is when the stakes are the highest. So try to practice it as you go.
Really good. We would actually have stations, right, set up. One station would be you're just working on the 3 R's on this station. You fake like you take a pitch that's 6 inches outside. It gets called a strike. Now what are you going to do? Now I'm going to release that. Undo, redo my batting gloves, grab some dirt, throw it down. Okay, I'm releasing that. Next pitch mentality, some physical action with a little mental piece works great, a little positive self-talk. Boom, now I'm back. And then where do we go next, Paul? The third R.
Yep. So the reason why a release and then the third R, which I have as a routine, the reason why a release and a routine are different is because a release is kind of as an as-needed thing. When things aren't going well and you recognize that you're not in a great place. A routine is every time, no matter what. So when we get back to a routine after we do our release, it helps bring us back to the present moment. Trav talked about the importance of being in the present moment in overcoming adversity. It really is the most important thing when it comes to overcoming adversity. And the best way to get you in the present moment is to rely on a routine that you have. Everybody has a batter's box routine. Everybody has all these, free throw routine, all that stuff. Each part of your routine should have an intent behind it, or at least you're focused on it. Because when you're focused on it and you have intent behind it, that means it's working for you instead of just, whatever my body feels like. If you rely on whatever your body feels like doing, when you're going poorly, it's going to be one thing. When you're going great, it's going to be another thing. And then it's not really working for you. So I believe this, when it comes to baseball players, every single routine in the batter's box should have a breath. So in through the nose, hard out through the mouth. I think it should have a focal point, which is you looking at the bat or looking at some specific part that's not going to move, something specific that's not going to move, and bringing all of your focus to the present moment with that vision, looking at that. And then I do believe that you should have some sort of power phrase, some sort of thought that you've decided is going to go in your mind that can help steer you in the right direction as kind of a final thought before that pitch is delivered. Those three things to kind of fly through that are a part of a routine for me. And then from a big picture standpoint, let's say you have a bad day at school, you have a bad, something bad's happening at home or whatever, and you need to get incredibly present to be focused on the game in general, just like big picture of this game that's happening right now. What are your pre-game routines? Do they need to, are you doing your same stretches that you always do? Do you journal before the game? Is there something that you can separate the rest of your life from and say, this is putting me in a great place to play this game right now, and do them every time, not just when you need it, so to speak. Every single time. That's the best way to stay present, is to have a great routine.
Awesome. So write this down, athletes. So routines incorporate a couple things, physical pieces, and you're probably doing those now through your warm-ups, through your catch play, and a mental piece. Start throwing in that mental piece, some positive phrase. If it's pregame, it's going to be a great day today. I'm going to have a great game today. If it's within an at-bat, I'm going to smash this pitcher. If it's at the free throw line, I got this, whatever it might be. So start again. I think the easiest way to do this is think about what you're doing right now, and are your routines good for you? They feel good. When you get into the batter's box, am I clear-minded? Am I in the present moment? As I'm leading into a game, how do I feel going into the game? Does everything feel clear? Am I in the zone and flow? Feeling really good, really excited to be here? If not, start thinking about different ways, things you can do a little bit differently to get you in a really good place mindset-wise. One big thing I'm going to add to that, your routines are totally within your control. You have total control of them. So that's what you really want to focus on. Great routines that you have total control over that give you the best chance of success. And maybe Paul will do another podcast just on that for the athletes. But start with that. Routines that feel really good to me, I have total control over, and give me the best chance of hitting this free throw, throwing this big pass, whacking this baseball. Go back to those routines as the third R. Anything you'd throw in or take it from there, Paul? We'll start wrapping this baby up.
No, I think talking about focusing on controllables, another big thing is to make sure that you have a growth mindset, which we're not going to dive too deep into, but a hallmark of a growth mindset is that you view adversity or challenges or whatever it may be as an opportunity to grow. So picture your current state of mind, which is like adversity is like the person I'm fighting with, you're in a boxing match with. And instead of fighting with it, you put your arm around it and say, actually, you're kind of my friend. Like the adversity that I went through is for my benefit. And that will take some of the sting off of the adversity, right? It's not going to be perfect, but take some of the sting off of it and make it so you don't have to fight so hard to be able to overcome it. So view it as an opportunity for growth and view it for your benefit. Certainly helps with adversity. And then big picture things, guys, make sure that you understand that the relationship you have with the sport and the game that you're playing should be one that's filled with joy, filled with passion, filled with something, it is not who you are. It's just what you do. Okay. Big things that we talk about that are super deep and we're not going to get into them here, but if you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders with every at bat, the relationship you have with the game is probably one that needs to be examined. So just think about that. Just try to have that self-awareness and go, man, how is this right? Am I in a good place here? And I'll leave you with that and maybe something you guys can think about as we end this thing.
Really good. And athletes, we'll be back with more of these podcasts directed specifically at you, but take these 3 R's, write these things down, the 3 R's to overcome adversity. Again, real quickly, recognize when I'm knocked out of the zone, release those negative thoughts, some physical, mental action to release the thoughts, and then back to the routines, getting right back to your routines that you've implemented and, like Paul said, practiced, and that are controllable and give you the best chance of success in this at bat for this pitch, whatever it might be. And let's for sure, Paul, dive into that a little bit more in upcoming podcasts. Anything to cap it off? Athletes, thanks a lot for listening in. Let us know if you have any questions. Your parents know how to get in touch with us. So if you have questions, let them know, and we'll honor those questions going forward as well. Anything else, Paul?
Well, we love trying to make you better athletes. Thanks for listening, and thanks for wanting to improve in this area.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Paul. We'll see you again real soon.
See ya.